Welcome back to Sefaria's training course for educators. I'm Sarah Wachenfeld, Director of Education. In this lesson, I'll show you some of Sefaria's newer and more experimental features. Some of these are still being designed, and in some ways they represent the next frontier for Sefaria's education department, as we consider what tools are best suited to leverage our technology and make pedagogy in the Judaic Studies classroom more effective. We look forward to hearing your feedback, as well as your ideas about how to incorporate these materials into your lesson plans and teaching. Let's start with Sefaria's visualizations. Because Sefaria digitizes all content, our site contains a lot of data, which can then be presented in different ways. When we turn our data into images or graphs, we call them visualizations. To find them, open up Sefaria's library and scroll towards the bottom of the page. Under the Resources section, you'll see Visualizations. Click there, and you'll see links to the different options. Each of these takes large quantities of information and presents it in a way that allows it to be digestible, sortable, and useful in ways that it might not be otherwise. For example, open our Link Explorer by clicking on the image under the title. This visualization displays all the links between the Talmud and the Bible. Every time the Talmud quotes a verse from the Bible, a line is generated, connecting the two. Click on an individual book to see the connections between that book of the Torah and the entire Talmud. Each line represents a verse, and you can hover over the line to see the reference. Click on the line, and the text will open. You can also do this with an individual tractate from the Talmud, just by clicking on the title of the tractate in question. This is a great tool for starting conversations with students. For example, you might look at a single tractate and chart the narrative flow of that book by looking at concentrations of quotes. Tractate Megillah, which I've opened here, draws a great deal of material from the Book of Esther, and you can see that represented here. However, at some point, those quotes end, and the tractate quotes only from other books of the Bible. Why? What's the focus at the end of the tractate? Can you tell by looking at what's quoted? This could be the beginning of a conversation with students. Or, for younger students, you might start a conversation about what they know about the holiday of Rosh Hashanah, and use Tractate Rosh Hashanah as a starting point for that conversation. So, for example, I would click on Rosh Hashanah in the list of tractates, and maybe I'll select the book of Genesis because my students have previously been exposed to that book. Now you can see that relatively early on in the tractate, the very beginning of the book of Genesis is quoted. I might click to open that text and ask students why they think that those verses might be quoted here, and why a text about the new year might use the beginning of the book of Genesis as a starting point. Another kind of visualization are our gardens or anthologies. Again, I'll go into Sefaria's library page and scroll down to Visualizations and select from the list. Here's our Jerusalem garden. This collection of texts, curated by Rabbi Mike Foyer, identifies texts that mention Jerusalem. These texts have been tagged topically, by name, by the time they reference, by the characters, by the geography, and you can sort them based on your interests. So for example, I might want only texts that use the name Jerusalem, and I might want specifically ones that reference King David, and maybe I want things that reference kings as well. You can select whatever you're interested in, and then scroll down to see the texts that Sefaria has recorded that use all of those tags. You'll also see a timeline that shows you the time of the texts that have been selected, as well as a map that shows you where these texts originate. Click on the title of any text here to open it in our library. This is a great research tool for both you and your students. Another visualization, built for one of our partner educators, is our Rashi visualizer. This was designed for a teacher whose curriculum encompassed multiple books of the Bible, and who wanted to show his students that these books were connected in more ways than they might think. The books of the Torah are arranged around the circle. Hover over the side, and you'll see a verse title. That is the selected pasuk, or verse, written in black. You'll be able to see if Rashi on that verse quotes another verse, if the connected verses are green, or if Rashi on another verse quotes that verse, if the connected verse titles are red, as in this case. This is also a great conversation starter and research tool, and it's also a way to help students appreciate the scope of Rashi's knowledge of Torah. I want to show you one final visualization, which is our newest. Sefaria's summer intern, Sarah Engel, built this tool to help learners understand the different types of mitzvot. She used data from the Sefer HaChinuch, a 13th century work that lists and explains the 613 mitzvot, in order to categorize the mitzvot and show the interplay between them. You can move these different parameters to focus on different questions, such as what kind of commandment, where is one obligated to do it, who is obligated, and what's the penalty for transgressing. This is a great classroom tool for learning about mitzvot, whether or not the students are familiar with the Sefer HaChinuch. It could also be a jumping off point for talking about how one might gather data to create such a visualization, or what your students would want to be able to teach others after they've learned a particular set of texts. The next educational tool we'll discuss lives on sheets. Open a sheet from your own private library in order to look at the highlight tool. You'll need to be in edit mode and select highlight mode from the file menu. As you can see, I've put some short text on this sheet. Highlight allows you or your students to tag specific words or sentences in a text, associating them with different colors, and then filter them so that only certain parts of the text appear. So for example, in this account of creation, I might want to separate intro verses from descriptions of what was created, and then I might also want to tag the Torah's assessment of the thing that was created. So for example, that something was created, that it was good, etc. Once I'm in highlight mode, I just click and drag to select the verse that I'm interested in, and Sefaria will allow me to highlight using one of the tags that's already been created, or to create a new tag, which will be assigned a new color. When you hover over the words, you'll see the tag. When you finish tagging, you can use the Highlight Tools menu to filter the text and see only certain parts of it, and see what it looks like without certain other sections. Of course, you can do this with any text. With a piece of Talmud, such as I've put below on the sheet, I might tag question, answer, etc., or tag by different Tanaim or Amoraim who are speaking. You can also create tags on a sheet and then share it with your students and have them do the tagging. This is a great way to help them understand how to break down a text, as well as a tool for analyzing the content or structure of a text. Finally, I want to show you Sefaria's dictionaries. Teachers sometimes tell me that they prefer their students work on Hebrew texts without translations, but that the students are permitted to use dictionaries when they get stuck. Other educators say that their students use the English, but they do want them to refer to the Hebrew text from time to time and learn certain words. Our current Bible dictionary covers the entire Tanakh. I'm going to go into the Hebrew mode to show you what it looks like there. Double-click on any word, and Sefaria will find the definition for you, including parts of speech. As a sneak peek at what's ahead for Sefaria, I'm happy to say that we'll soon have the Klein Dictionary for Hebrew, as well as the Jastrow Dictionary for Talmud. You'll be able to click on any word in a text. So for example, if I open up a piece from the Talmud, it will work the same way as Bible, and I'll be able to double click on a word and see the definition on the side. As you can see, it won't work for every word, at least not right away, and because that feature will take a bit longer to develop, you can also search for a word in the dictionary using our autocomplete feature. For example, type Klein or Jastrow in the search bar, followed by a comma, and then type the word that you'd like to look up. Use the autocomplete to select the word that you're thinking of, and Sefaria will open the relevant dictionary definition. This will work with the Klein Dictionary for Hebrew as well. The rest of this lesson will provide full tutorials for all the pieces described here. Enjoy, and don't forget to reach out to us if you have questions or feedback.